Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Truth Expedition. You've tuned into the program where we dig for truth in this insane clown show of a world where the fact checkers lie and the government and the media propagandize you and me, the citizens of this amazing world. As always, joined by my good friend and co host, Gunnar. How's Gunnar doing this evening?
I'm doing awesome. This is like such a privilege for me. It's an honor to be able to sit here and speak about this. This is something that I've been pondering for 2 decades or more, ever since I was a young kid, raised in a Lutheran church, asking questions about revelations. Here we go. This is
Yeah.
going to be exciting. We're going to discuss Abrahamic eschatology. We're going to compare end time events across the Abrahamic religions. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so this kind of comes full circle. So when Gunnar and I met on September 11th, oddly enough, at a Dunn Brothers in Stillwater, in 2023, going on 3 years now. Our whole hour and a half discussion was well, it mostly turned into this eschatology and what in fact at that time, Gunnar, I think you showed me that coin with Trump on
Yep.
it, the temple coin, and this is what Gunnar was focused on, though we didn't dig right into that right away. We stayed with the medical freedom stuff, but after running for office, kind of all things political became important to me, not just jabs. And right now, there's nothing more important than what's going on in the Middle East. This could end up being catastrophic for the entire world. I sure hope not. I will eat crow, and I would love to be wrong, but I don't think anyone knows right now with what Trump's doing with this. We won the war is escalating. This, we'll talk about that maybe at the end, but I'm going to let Gunnar take over now. He's basically going to give his spiel on Abrahamic eschatology while I share the slides.
Yeah, I mean, to just bring it back to when Mark and I first met, I was talking to him about this Third Temple, King of the Hill style religious conflict. And he informed me that he was going to be interviewing James Corbett. What was it, 10/11 or something like that, October 11th?
Yeah, it wasn't far off.
So, and of course, 10/7 happened several days before. So it was a very timely interview. And I think some of the discussion that I brought to bear was very relevant and, of course, timely.
Yeah,
So,
really ironic.
oh yeah, I think the night before the night before 10/7, I had a good friend over and we were playing around making AI images, and we were making AI images of the temple being constructed, the Dome of the Rock being razed, destroyed. So we have all of these AI images, and the next day we woke up to the 10/7 insanity.
Yeah.
So this is very timely. This discussion is hyper relevant in today's world. And I think that it's the most fascinating story that is nonfiction. And I think that regardless of your worldview, this is incredibly necessary to understand. And I think it can help us all navigate the coming conflict. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to compare Abrahamic eschatology. So eschatology is the study of end time events, and the three Abrahamic religions have this unfolding conflict that's intertwined and both theological and political, and we're seeing it unfold right now. Let's go to the next slide here. So this is a depiction of the Dome of the Rock, which currently sits on the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is located in Jerusalem. It's the only place in the world where Judaism can have a functioning temple. And right now, it's being occupied by the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is a huge religious conflict, and I contend that it drives geopolitical events. I think it's the main driver of geopolitical events, and you'll see how that unfolds right here. So it's the holiest site in Judaism. That's the only spot allowed for the temple to be. It is located above the rock of creation, which is where God had a single rock and expanded the earth. It's also the site where Abraham was tested to sacrifice Isaac. It is the holiest site in Judaism. And indeed, a fair amount of the Old Testament is has to deal with the temple construction, the location, and the way that priests are to conduct rituals. So this is an incredibly important site. Every year, Jews pray next year in Jerusalem, and it is because they want control of the Temple Mount. Like I said, it's currently occupied by the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque. These are the third holiest sites in Islam. They were constructed in 700 CE, the Common Era. So it's like 1,300 years they've been there. It's the longest game of King of the Hill in existence, and it's coming to a head right now. The first and second temples were destroyed on the Jewish calendar. It's a lunar calendar. On Tish B'Av, it's called, the 9th of Av. Coincidentally, 9/11 was also the 9th of Av, which we'll touch more on later. So the second temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago. And ever since, Jews have been trying to get back into Jerusalem and have a foothold in the region sufficient to rebuild the temple. And that's what we're seeing today. I would say right now, to use a football analogy, they are on their goal line, ready to score. And we're going to see that happen any day. I think that the construction is already underway. We interviewed Adam Berkowitz, who dodged a question about whether or not the stones are constructed off site. But later that day, he posted a video with a gentleman in Israel who is actually constructing the stones for the temple. It's being built off site. Per Old Testament, no one in the city is to hear the temple's construction, which means it's largely going to be manufactured off-site and then assembled on the Temple Mount when the time is right. Currently, the Temple Mount has been shut down to Muslim access since February 20th. I believe that it's currently being wired for destruction. And many people now are saying that a Iranian missile may be blamed for its destruction in a false flag. So I think that's going to happen. I think that's going to happen any day. Every morning I wake up and that's the first thing I check. I think we're that close to it.
Yeah. Where do you check?
Twitter.
Yeah. So do you look at like Max Blumenthal, Ryan Dawson? Who do you look
I
at?
look at Twitter because it will be the first thing that pops up. We are truly living in biblical times, and this is going to happen any day. Like I said, to understand geopolitical events, we should look at Third Temple politics. It is a game of King of the Hill. It's, like I said, it's the third holiest site in Islam behind Mecca. Judaism they've attempted to return for the last 2 millennia. The Crusades, other ventures, the Balfour Declaration, all of this has been in preparation for today's world. Christians also revere the site. They think that it will play a pivotal role when Jesus returns. There'll be a battle in Jerusalem, and ultimately it will be Jesus who sits on the throne in Jerusalem and rules the world in a peaceful manner, but not before many calamities. And we'll discuss that as we go on. Excuse me. Okay, so this is relevant here. I want to discuss how I view this. Okay, so I view this as like a weatherman for peace. I'm not here to make people believe in this dogma or that theology. I'm here merely to present the facts on the ground and present the danger therein. We are in danger, whether we like it or not, and we'll discuss this later. I was raised Lutheran. I asked all of my pastors about Revelation. My family owned a hotel here in town, and we had the privilege of having many people from around the world stay with us. Lebanese, Jews, African Christians. I loved them all. And I began to see that we were all one humanity, and and we're all one humanity, and we should strive to work in peace together. And that's really my motivation here. I believe in God. I'm a deist. I'm not an atheist. I'm not a theist. I'm a deist. God exists. There's no doubt in my mind. I just don't subscribe to any one religion. And that allows me to view this in a way that's objective. And I use my training as a lawyer to look at this objectively, weigh the facts, and identify the players and their motivations. So you'll see that as we go along. So the unfortunate event here is that Abrahamic eschatology results in a Mexican standoff. I Googled that. It's not a racist term. It's a term of art where each person has a gun to each other's head. I don't like that. I don't want it. Here's how the dogma shakes out. So in Judaism, they're awaiting their Messiah. They rejected Jesus. They don't think Jesus was Messiah. They also don't think that Jesus is a God or a deity. They think he's a political figure. They think that there is a Messiah in every generation. The only thing necessary is the political and factual conditions on the ground. There needs to be a way for Pax Judaica, which is rule from Jerusalem, to exist. They need to have a military stronghold. They need to have a court that comprises all 70 nations. So it will effectively replace the UN, like Trump's Board of Peace. So in Christianity, we know that Jesus is Messiah. We know that he will come again to establish peace in the world, and that he's going to fight this figure, the Antichrist. The Antichrist sits on the throne in Jerusalem and proclaims himself not to be Jesus. And in that way, you have immediate conflict between Judaism and Christianity. The Jewish Messiah is the Christian Antichrist. That's a problem. That's a problem that Max Blumenthal called out many times in his works. He's gone through to different evangelical conferences and talked with Zionists, both evangelicals and Jews, and highlighted the inconsistency and contradictory nature of their joint efforts, which is to bring about the third temple and a holy war. This does not sound fun to me. So in Islam, they think that Jesus is Messiah. They think that he's coming again. They think that he was born of a Virgin Mary. They just don't think that he was God. It's a small kind of matter of contention, or maybe it's a large one. Nonetheless, in the end of days, Jesus is going to come, destroy the Dajjal, which is effectively the Antichrist, the great deceiver. He's going to be defeated by Jesus in the war of Gog from Magog, and it will effectively take place at Mount Megiddo, which is just north of Israel. So that's a real place. Mount Megiddo refers to the biblical Armageddon.
Is that in Lebanon then?
It's in the Golan Heights.
So it's in
like
Israel. You
Syria,
said north
Lebanon.
of Israel, but it's in
Right.
Israel.
It's
Northern
in
Israel.
Israel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in that general region. So just to show you kind of how different religions view this event, this is Vatican Hall. That's the Pope. Behind him is a grotesque statue. It depicts Jesus rising from a nuclear holocaust for his second coming. I think we can prevent these types of events. I think that this is manifest destiny. It's man working towards these events and fulfilling them. I don't think this has the signature of our all-powerful and wonderful God on it anywhere. If anything, this is a satanic endeavor that needs to be stopped.
Yeah, because we could be looking at nuclear war. We do know Israel proclaims, the Samson option is an option, and that would mean nuking, Iran, perhaps Lebanon. Probably not Lebanon because that's a little too close. But I think even if they did nuke Iran, Israel would be affected. I think the whole world could be affected, even if, because it's talked about that they would need to drop several nukes. Iran's so big. So 5, 10, 15 nukes, you'd probably have some type of nuclear, winter. And, it's catastrophic. But I think you're right. I think there's the most extreme people in Judaism and then in Christianity that kind of want this. They're pushing towards this. And I think God comes on his own time. And I was doing some research today on this, and what a couple different AI engines told me is that, yeah, most people, most Christians, most Jews don't believe in this. They believe God will come in his time.
Right. I think that we're right there, and we'll go through and discuss all of the evidence that shows you how close we are. Okay, so the second temple was destroyed in 70 CE AD. The temple, we know this is a historic event. There are reliefs, art, sculptures in the Vatican and Rome that depict priests carrying temple treasures from Jerusalem to Rome. And indeed, the state of Israel requests on an annual basis that the Vatican return all of their temple treasures. There's a golden menorah. I don't think the Ark of the Covenant is located there, but there are many other treasures that still exist in the Vatican vaults. Fascinating stuff. So for the last 2,000 years, Judaism has been in exile. They have been either trying to perfect their religion, perfect themselves in a way that would allow God to welcome them back into the lands. Some have grown tired of waiting, and thus Zionism is born. Zionism is a political endeavor. It is an endeavor that is colonialist, and it seeks to restore the biblical borders of Israel through force. And that's what we're seeing today.
And
The
that would
Greater
be
Israel Project.
Euphrates to the Nile, right? And that is
Right.
much of Lebanon, part of Egypt, Syria, I believe Iraq, even part of Saudi Arabia, correct?
Right.
And that is what the Netanyahu wants. That's what's happening.
Right. Many of the IDF soldiers have patches on their arms of the Greater Israel Project and the Third Temple. That's what they're fighting for. This is a numbers game. It's important to understand that there are about 20 million Jews in the world. About 5-6 million are actually practicing enough that they are willing to fight for this endeavor. When you do the numbers there, 20 million Jews versus 2 billion Muslims, that's a hard fight. And so how is it that 20 million Jews can fight 2 billion Muslims? Well, they needed to recruit an army. And we'll touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, a billion is 1,000 millions. I mean, it's a huge difference.
There's a pie chart later in these slides that show just how ridiculous that is. So over the last 100 years, things have really heated up. There was this place called the Pale of Settlement. A Russian queen, Catherine the Great, banished Jews into the Pale of Settlement. It comprises modern day Ukraine. That's really where modern Zionism was born, in Ukraine from those harsh conditions. you'll see that there's many events that have led to the unfolding and that were very important steps to allow this political endeavor to occur. Another thing that happened was the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Why do we have a Fed? So that it can deficit spend into any war that the powers that be see fit. It also uses the Social Security numbers and our income tax as leverage to continue deficit spending. We are tax cattle for this endeavor, and it's not good. The Balfour Declaration in 1917, after World War I was ended, was a letter from a British secretary to Lord Rothschild promising the state of Israel to Jews and under the leadership of the Rothschild family. This is real. It's happening. You can look it up. It's insane. But like I said, this is the greatest story of nonfiction that people have never really heard. Even the Freemasons are involved. One of the Freemasons' stated goals or aspirations is to rebuild Solomon's temple. So you have the Freemasons, who at one point in time were the world's largest secret society. They're very much involved in Israel today. They designed the Supreme Court building in Jerusalem that has a pyramid sticking out of the top. It has a Christian cross in a courtyard that's the only cross in the place is designed to be walked on in a sign of disrespect. There are 33 levels in the building that signify the 33 levels of and aspirations of Freemasonry. So this is such a crazy story, but like I said, all of these fascinating elements are involved. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, I want to just for a second here. So I posted yesterday, I believe, that you could pretty much, because it all is coming together for me. You could replace the word globalist and the word neocon with Zionist.
100%.
It seems to me, and I kind of, Gunnar and I had this conversation. We've never argued, but at first I was like, nah, I think there's several players, when it comes to COVID. But as it turns out, I think it really is the Zionists that are pulling all the strings. They're, the puppet masters here when it comes, because if you look at Pfizer, Moderna, Klaus Schwab, even all Zionists. Again, I have nothing against Jewish people. So that's something we should say right out front too. Should have said that right away, but we have nothing against Jewish people. We don't judge people based on their, ethnicity, their religion, the color of their skin, even their gender, just, we don't. So
the largest denomination of Judaism in the United States is Reform Judaism, and they generally don't aspire to retaking the Temple Mount, Greater Israel. They want to practice their faith and be left alone. They don't want to be involved in any zealous Zionist endeavors.
yeah, most Jews, according to three AIs I checked with, most Jewish people don't believe in this. They believe God, their Messiah will come in his time, that this does not have to be done. So this is really a true minority.
Right.
Puppet master.
Yeah. So like I said, about 20 million Jews, 5 or 6 million are really fighting this fight. So this has had a huge impact on American politics. The Mossad was directly responsible for the assassination of RFK and JFK due to the secret nuclear weapon program that they had at Dimona, and also JFK and RFK wanting the Israeli lobby to register under the Foreign Agent Act. So that is why JFK and RFK were assassinated, to allow the Israeli lobby to operate with impunity within the United States. It's a terrible tragedy. Those two could have brought peace to the world. Instead, we're in a totally different world.
Yeah.
Mark and I have written about this exhaustively in the Truth Expedition Substack. Go check it out. So in 1967, the Six-Day War, Israel attacked their neighbors in order to continue to expand their borders. They even attempted to recruit the United States into it by a false flag attack against the USS Liberty. Another terrible tragedy. Luckily, it didn't work at that time. However, they did ultimately get what they want. We are effectively their army in the Middle East at this time.
I think 36 Americans died on that ship and many more wounded.
Right. Also in 1967, after the Six-Day War had pretty much ended, the IDF attempted to seize the Temple Mount. They walked around, checked it out, bewildered. Of course, I'm sure it was an emotional homecoming. But nonetheless, they knew that it was a sheer numbers game, that the Muslim population and the stronghold in that region was just too much, and they would not allow Jews to take the Temple Mount at that time. They couldn't hold it. Again, the longest game of King of the Hill is unfolding right now. One thing I think is incredibly important to note is that many US presidents have notated the same thing. Nixon, Ford, Carter, George Bush Sr. pushed back against the Israeli lobby in 1991. They all said that Israel had too much control over US foreign policy. We don't want an Abrahamic foreign policy. We want a secular foreign policy, a Ron Paul foreign policy. That's not what we have right now. Israel has used the United States to overthrow many Muslim countries repeatedly. Somalia, Sudan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Iran, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Egypt. We've had a hand in the turmoil in all of those regions. And if anything, it's just solidified the extremist view of Islam to protect their national state and indeed to prepare for the end times, which we're seeing right now. Okay, so 9/11 was a huge pivotal event in our time. It was a false flag staged by the Mossad to recruit a Christian army to fight in the Middle East. How do you have 5-6 million Jews fight against 2 billion Muslims? You recruit a Christian army and you tell them that they hate us for our freedoms and that these scary Muslims did this stuff and we got to go get them. And it worked.
Sure did.
Sadly, it worked. They blamed bin Laden, who denied involvement. They controlled the media to propagandize Americans. We saw it happen. Those who were keen and understood how the propaganda worked could recognize it. Many did not. Millions died with our tax dollars.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah. Millions died.
Millions died and trillions were spent.
And it has forever shaped my generation. Many of the folks I know, a lot of people that I went to high school with, enlisted, searching for WMDs. None were found. They used anthrax. Yeah, totally. Tevin
So
won.
the question: do you think the war's purpose is to continue to further flood the West with refugees?
Yes, for
Thanks
sure.
for
I
the
think that's
question.
part of it. If you look at a lot of the aid groups, the NGOs, they're Israeli or Catholic with Israeli influence, welcoming folks into the United States. We bomb countries, we overthrow their governments, and during the turmoil, we usher folks in to try to divide the United States. I'm not having it. I like all the people that are here. I don't have a racist bone in my body. And if somebody's here because we bombed their country and they want to be here, good on them. I'm happy.
I will say though, then we've talked about this before. Sorry to butt in again, but
Yeah.
We We are not racist, but at the same time, we don't want this to become an Islamic country. We
No,
want it. We
I
like
don't.
our heritage and our
Right.
culture. I like, growing up with a white picket fence, the baseball in the summer, the apple pie, and I like my heritage and culture. Whites are actually a minority. The 9% of the population of the earth is white. And again, I'm not a white nationalist or anything like that, but I do like my heritage and culture, and I love America. I love the principles that founded this amazing country, but we're losing our way.
We're losing it. And the more that we bomb Muslim countries, the more that we meddle in South America, the more we're going to have folks come in. And it's unfortunate. That's why I want the CIA to stop messing around. So anthrax and WMDs, just lies to beat the war drum. It worked. Bush, shortly after the incursion in Iraq, famously went on the aircraft carrier with the mission accomplished banner. We were there for another 20 years. We're still there. They don't want us there. We never had a mission accomplished. We're there to protect Israeli interests in the region, not our own.
Yeah.
And in terms of 9/11, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth have demonstrated that that was controlled demolition. The Twin Towers, Building 7. Again, we've written exhaustively about it on our Substack.
Exhaustively. I think
Go
one
check
thing
it
I'll
out.
add here too is you at the top here, you got the Mossad and the CIA. There were probably also components, some Islamic components, but from Saudi Arabia, we believe some of the funding. So there's, the world's true experts in this that have spent decades researching it, I think will concur that it was mostly Mossad. CIA knew about it, maybe helped, but Saudi kind of funded it. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah, for sure. There was Saudi involvement as well. But as you know, it wasn't bin Laden, it was our two allies,
A
Saudi
bearded
Arabia and
diabetic in a
Israel.
cave.
Yeah. Total BS. And many fell for it. In fact, bin Laden himself had books on his on his bookshelf. Who done 9/11? Bin Laden himself was a 9/11 conspiracy theorist, but I think he knew from day one who did it.
Oh yeah.
This is the
He was
pie
a
chart that,
CIA asset.
yeah, I mean, he was trained by the West. He was a CIA asset when Charlie Wilson's war, we funded the Taliban to fight against the Russians in Afghanistan.
Okay.
So he's trained by the CIA.
This is a good visual here, man. That really, really shows you what's going on.
Right. So there's Christianity on the right in purple, Islam in yellow, and that small sliver at the top in the middle is Judaism, adherence to Judaism. That's 20 million, 2.2 billion for Christianity, and 2 billion for Islam. Islam is the fastest growing religion. If you look at Christianity, there might be 2.2 billion Christians. However, as we know, Christians are not going to be as much of a monolith, nor are all Christians going to be supporting these religious wars.
Mostly the evangelicals.
Right. So if you look at the percent, of Muslims who would be called to fight, who would want to go fight, of the 2 billion, it's probably going to be high. It's at least going to be a billion. It's going to be 1.5 billion. For Christianity, it's maybe going to be 400 or 500 million. Christians, we are a Christian nation, but we don't want to send our sons and daughters to die in the desert for Old Testament prophecy. No, thank you. So I think that this really shows the uphill battle that they face for reconstructing the temple. Another false flag, another pivotal moment that leads us to where we're at today was 10/7. That was a false flag. The IDF stood down. They had foreknowledge of this event. They stood down. They implemented the Hannibal Directive, which was responsible for murdering a good chunk of the citizens that died that day. Most of the deaths are attributable to the IDF, not Hamas. We were lied to. We were told that 40 beheaded babies, mass sexual assault occurred, and that was sufficient for the average Joe to get mad enough to justify bomb after bomb after bomb. For those of us that knew, we knew it was not an organic intelligence failure. We called that out in day one when we interviewed James Corbett. As facts have begun to come out, have continued to stream out, we've solidified our position. 40 beheaded babies was a lie. So was the sexual assault. It's a terrible, terrible war is a terrible tragedy. Nobody likes this, but this war propaganda really does fuel hatred and green lights war and bloodshed that otherwise people would not be on board with. And this is we're feeding an ongoing genocide. Even though there's a ceasefire, there's not. There's still operations on a daily basis. They're still moving the border south and east
It's
and
moved into
west.
Lebanon now, the
Yeah,
genocide.
right.
It's
Yeah, now they're
over
starting to
1,000 Lebanese have been killed and many, many thousands wounded.
right. Lebanese Christians, doesn't matter. And notably, I mean, I haven't even touched on this yet, but ISIS and Al Qaeda, one of our last articles was the Hollywood nature of extremist Islam. ISIS and Al Qaeda are CIA concoctions. We created Al Qaeda. Look at James Corbett's material on it. Like he said during our interview, he goes, I say this advisedly. I made a 6-hour film on it. And there's all the information that you need in there. ISIS, same thing. It's a CIA Israeli boogeyman group that does the bidding in Syria, Lebanon. It was responsible for the overthrow of Assad. And now what? We have Al Qaeda in the White House. We have Jolani visiting Trump. Who would have thought? Well, here we go. All of this is theater, really, to occupy the American mind and to dupe them into fighting these forever wars. One of the justifications for 10/7 was, or the name that they deemed this operation was the Al-Aqsa flood, because they wanted to protect Al-Aqsa. That's how Hamas views this struggle, is truly over the Temple Mount. So I think we should all kind of recognize that we might live in isolation here, but much of the world is fighting for this particular piece of land. And we need to stop spending our tax dollars and sending our kids to die for this endeavor. Another thing that's happened, though, after 10/7 was the full display of the genocide, and people around the world began to recognize the Israeli lies. And I think, again, that's incredibly important to continue to recognize these lies as they pertain to Iran, Turkey, and all Muslims around the world. We're being presented and painted a picture that just simply is not true.
Back to the
Next.
Al-Aqsa flood, didn't the Jews flood the mosque on like 10/6, 10/5? Like a bunch of there was
No,
some
they closed it down. They swarmed it. They've been
yeah,
allowing prayers on the Temple Mount, which, I don't care. I don't care either way, but it upsets, they know that it's
yeah.
inflammatory.
And there was actually I believe a physical flood too,
There
like
was a
rainwater.
physical
So
flood
it's
shortly
it's
thereafter.
kind of
Yeah, yeah. It's like
two-headed
in
monster.
Israel. It's one of those, biblical coincidences. That's a picture. So this is the greater Israel map. You have
All the
Egypt
way to
over on the
Kuwait.
left, elements of Saudi Arabia, Iraq, of course, all of Lebanon, Syria. They think that that's theirs according to the Bible, according to Ezekiel. It defines the land of Israel. So that's what they're effectively fighting for. I don't think that they are intending to take all of it, but nonetheless, they want their piece of pie and they want control over the region. And in Messianic Judaism, the end result is Pax Judaica, rule from Jerusalem. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a monetary system established. You're seeing Israel effectively control the most powerful military in the world, ours. So I think that we're way closer to Pax Judaica than many realize.
So somebody put this comment up. I think it's not nothing, but does this word mean anything to you, Gunnar?
Konim? That's no.
No, okay. All right.
Could be fun though.
Could be. We'll have to look that up.
I'll have to go down the rabbit hole later.
Yeah.
What happens when the third temple is constructed? I think this is kind of a fascinating discussion and delves into your spiritual or religious beliefs. So I think this is going to happen any day. And what's going to be the result? Well, okay, maybe it's peace on earth. Maybe it's Pax Judaica, peace on earth. The world is controlled from Jerusalem for the betterment of humanity. Maybe that's the case. I don't necessarily think so. It could be Armageddon. It could be this unleashing of death and destruction, biblical death and destruction. And I think that that is not going to be a spiritual event. It's going to be man-made, manifest destiny. I think that's a likely outcome. Another likely outcome is nothing happens. The temple's built. They sacrifice goats until they're knee deep in blood. God never comes to the world. There's no real Messiah. Peace is never had. And people begin to abandon Old Testament faith. I think that's another likely outcome.
Yeah.
What do you guys think will happen? Something to ponder, that's for sure. So World War III is a holy war. It's unfolding right now. We have to think about who's in power, what do they believe, and what are they doing about it? I think that's pretty reasonable, right? Like from a lawyer's perspective, that's a pretty reasonable approach. So what do these folks believe? Let's go to that next slide. So Netanyahu was told by the Chabad Lubavitch rabbi Schneerson that he himself, Netanyahu, would hand the keys to the Jewish Messiah. Now, oddly enough, there's many in Chabad Lubavitch that think that Schneerson is the Messiah, that he actually will be resurrected. And so what you see there is on Schneerson's birthday, Trump praying at his grave. There's Shapiro on the right, Trump on the left, wearing a yarmulke. He's placing a stone at the top of the grave. And in that way, what they're doing is they're summoning the soul of Schneerson so that they can talk to him, so that they commune with him. So he's doing a Jewish prayer, if you will, in commemoration of Rabbi Schneerson. Some of the prophecy actually depicts there's like two messiahs in Judaism, and according to the Talmud and rabbinic schools of thought, that the first rabbi dies, or the first messiah dies in battle, restoring the biblical borders of Israel. So you can see Netanyahu is almost on a kamikaze mission to try to fulfill this prophecy. I don't think he really cares one way or the other. He's under direct orders from the Orthodox rabbis to fulfill this. Not all Orthodox rabbis, of course. Mark and I interviewed Rabbi Feldman of Nutira Karta, who are a group of Orthodox Jews who are opposed to the Zionist state of Israel. So everyone is worth defending, even these rascals. I don't want to see any bloodshed, but I don't want to see them in control of our government anymore. What does Trump believe? He's surrounded by Chabad Lubavitch. There are some that think Kushner could play the role of the Jewish Messiah. It's not some spiritual deified event. It's a political figure that brings peace to the world or the region. What are you seeing Kushner do? The Abraham Accords. He's sabotaging the negotiations in Iran to try to create a more peaceful Iran, what have you. Trump is surrounded by folks that believe this. Susan Wiles, his chief of staff, all of them, Hegseth, they all believe this stuff. And Mike Huckabee, Rubio, they're all acting to fulfill this prophecy. Look at our Substack, Trump's Third Temple team. It talks all about it. Trump himself is believed to be the biblical symbol, or even a resurrection of the biblical King Cyrus. He was told at Davos by a group of Orthodox Jews that his gematria was 24, which is today's date, that that 24 is messianic. It symbolizes the Messiah. So not that Trump is Messiah, but that he's doing messianic work. And they believe that he is similar to King Cyrus, going to allow Jews to return from exile and rebuild the temple. There are Trump temple coins. I have a few because I'm fascinated in this subject. And they're, I think, all the time filling Trump's head with this type of nonsense, if you will, that this is good for the region, biblical, etc. He was gifted a segment of land in Golan Heights called Trump Heights. They are doing everything they can to appease this man and force him to do this work. Whether he's compromised or fully on board, doesn't matter. He's a puppet for this endeavor. So why Iran? Well, after 9/11, Wesley Clark famously said that they were going to overthrow 7 countries in 5 years. Iraq, Libya, Lebanon, all these places were going to be overthrown, destroyed, and taken over effectively by U.S. interests and puppets that would be favorable to the U.S., Jelani, etc. So the last on that list was Iran, and that's what you're seeing right now. Why the rush to do this? Well, they're 20 years plus behind. They want to get this done. It's not about nuclear weapons. It's not about protecting Iranians. It's about controlling the region and eliminating the Muslim threat. In Iran, they have this special notion that they are protecting the location, the geographic location of the 12th Imam. That's an important religious figure in Shia Islam. He is going to be someone who apparently is like still alive. He was born in 800 CE in that time. According to tradition, he's still alive, just like suspended, kind of waiting for the Messiah to come, and he will help judge the world in the new world that comes in Islam. So it's an incredibly important stronghold, that region is. The Iranians are religiously devout. They see that Israel has been attempting to overthrow their government in the region for the last 100 years. We've been agitating, and we've had varying degrees of success. I think we're in it for the long shot now. We have troops being deployed to Iran, and I think it's only going to get messier. I do believe that we are in the end of the first chapter of World War III, and the story that's going to be written is not going to be a good one. All Islamic scholars and leaders are versed in this eschatology. So Gaddafi, many people in this region are well versed in Islamic eschatology, and it depicts a struggle with the Dajjal, who effectively takes over Judaism to deceive the world. And what we're seeing now, I think, is potentially very much in line with that warning. and those prophecies. These are man-made dangers. I don't think God is guiding any of the hands here. If anything, I think it's more evil, sinister forces. I'm not spiritual in this way. I think that it is man, but I do wonder, because what drives people to do this? It's scary, terrifying. So, according to prophecy in Judaism, 2/3 of the world is destroyed by fire. I mean, that sounds horrifying. And how is that possible? Nuclear weapons. Just like we talked about earlier with JFK and RFK, Israel stole our nuclear weapons, our secrets. They did the same with Russia. They sell our secrets to China and to Russia, and we probably buy some as well. And they have effectively secured an arsenal sufficient to destroy the world. That's called the Samson option. Seymour Hersh wrote a book about it. It's as real as you can imagine, and it's probably the scariest thing. And it's another Israeli policy that if they go down, we go down. They're willing to hold the world hostage to fulfill Old Testament prophecy. Scary. In Christianity, over 50% of the population is destroyed in this end time event through various means, plagues, wars, infighting, brothers killing brothers. Not good. But what you see today, the propaganda, the hysteria, it's all playing out. And it is terrifying. And I wish people would stop. But here we go. I don't see an end to it. If you look at our Facebook comments and things like this, people are not nice. People are really becoming more and more agitated and quick to anger. We really should try to tone that down a little bit. In Islam, again, a vast majority of the population dies in the end times through these religious battles, through plagues, again, brother killing brother, wars, and all types of different calamities. And we're seeing this unfold. We have man-made viruses that are killing people. We're going to have AI that's going to sabotage our civilian utilities. We're going to have our monetary system collapse, the power shut off. It's not going to be good. We need to fight against this. And whoever is on board with this, they're on our side, they're on our team. But you have to view this accordingly, that these are dangerous waters. And I just say, can we ask God for clarification before we all kill each other? Before this Mexican standoff results in the deaths of all of us? Can we designate a safe zone? Can we go someplace that, like, okay, just like in the Civil War, they would gather on a hillside and watch the war unfold, all of these troops marching in order, shooting each other to the great delight of the people. I will not watch this in delight. I love all peoples. I seek to warn humanity about this, but I fear that we are full steam ahead, no slowing down. Like we said before, not all denominations support these prophecies, but nonetheless, this third temple politics is driving geopolitical events, is the main driver. Those 4 or 5, 6 million Jews that want to see this, they're getting their way, and they're working in concert with evangelical and other Zionists, Christian Zionists in the United States to fuel this warfare. We're using our tax dollars, our military, our media is consumed with selling this lie, and we're buying it, and it's no bueno. Humans are the primary culprits here. I don't see this as divine. I don't see the invention of a nuclear weapon as some holy event to be used for the good of God. Anything that destroys God's great creation is not good. We should fight against that. The prophecies, even though they're man-made, They're being forced on us. They're being interpreted and executed. The mark of the beast, the cryptocurrency, the digital assets. BlackRock wants to digitize all assets so that they can control them. They want to do away with cash. This sounds remarkably like the mark of the beast. No thanks. I don't want that. Greater Israel doesn't look like angels are doing that. Looks like maybe demons are doing it. It's not good. Evangelical Zionism, again, I don't see that as some type of godly affair. I see that as propaganda, brainwashing of good Christian folks. I don't blame those folks for buying it. I blame the apparatus for selling it. We're being propagandized to hate each other, to fight each other, to fight for Pax Judaica. It's not good. We need to recognize this and refuse it. With all of our might, we have to recognize it and refuse it. You don't refuse it by violence against Muslims, Christians, or Jews. You fight against it by raising awareness and saying no. If your neighbor wants to send their son or daughter to die in this war, don't be afraid to tell them no, don't do it. You might make a little bit of a rocky relationship, but in the end, you're going to come out smelling like roses, hopefully, if they listen to you. I really think that Jesus was right when he said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." While I don't necessarily subscribe to any one religion, I do follow in the footsteps of Jesus. I listen to what he says. The Beatitudes should guide us all. The meek will inherit the earth. We do not want to build our homes on this world. We build our homes in the world to come, and we do that through good deeds. And we have to keep fighting for that. We want truth, and we want peace. We've been consistent in that message for the last 2.5 years. We're not slowing down. That's the temple coin there. Pretty crazy. How do we prepare? Ignore the propaganda. Don't send your kids to war, please. It's not worth it. Stock up on food. You're gonna have to do that for real because times are gonna get tough. It seems like fertilizer costs are going up, cost of energy is going up, the cost of steak and red meat is going up. Scary, but we need to think about how to fortify a local community of farmers, ranchers, etc., where we can source our food from away from large corporations.
Yeah.
We need to get precious metals because they're messing with our economy. It's the only way. I think cryptocurrency is somewhat
Sketchy.
wise.
I've been
Sketchy.
all about crypto, but I'm questioning it now. Could
It's
be a
going to be
major rug pull.
controllable and hacked by AI. AI at some point in
Monero
time is
maybe, XMR, which is private and untouchable, but Bitcoin, I don't know. I think it's
I
eventually going
think
to
you
get
could
a
have
rug
your
pull.
secure keys somewhere, but nonetheless, it can mimic it sufficiently.
They could crash it though too, and then
Right.
quantum computers. I just don't know how secure it is 20, 30 years from now.
Get right with your family. Get right with your community. Forge those relationships. Talk about this stuff. Don't be afraid to be a patriot, but also a good global citizen. Don't hate people that look different than you. And if somebody is spouting this type of rhetoric, it's okay to say, I don't believe in this. If your pastor is hyper Zionist, probably shouldn't go to that church. If they're praying for the death and destruction of churches in Gaza, that's pretty hypocritical. Work on your personal health, your sanity, and get right with God. We all have to do that. Because as we know, as we get older, time goes by fast. We're not here for very long. I think at some point in time, when we die, we're going to be judged. And I want to say, I tried. It's a mess down there, but we tried. So that's what motivates me. And I hope that you all can see that and carry this torch forward. That's all I really got.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to touch on the food thing. Everyone, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. We could go with this show could go hours if we wanted to get into the Iran war and all the 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 stuff Trump's saying. War's over, war's escalating. And what you'll notice is on a Friday night, Trump will escalate things, make things sound really crazy, but then come Sunday night or Monday morning, he'll like tone things down to like try to boost the markets. And if you don't know this, just a few minutes before Trump said that there's a peace plan in play and we'll know in 5 days, just a few moments before he said that, there was some major insider trading, like $1.5 billion, purchase oil stocks. I mean, so there's corruption going on there, but it's not just the fuel, the gas, the natural gas that comes through the strait. It's the urea, it's the fertilizers that will grow the foods for the world. So there are already in Southeast Asia. There's rationing going on for food and also for fuel. They're being told to kind of work from home. I mean, it's not COVID style lockdowns, but it's already starting. So if this continues for months, it's going to be catastrophic for the global economy, and many, many people will die. And if it goes on for a year or 2 or 3, if this is a quagmire, we could see billions die.
Yeah. Just like Caroline Levitt is a spokesperson for the White House, Trump is a spokesperson for the Zionist endeavor. He's not in control. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. Witkoff, Kushner, Netanyahu are telling him what to do, or forcing him to do it, or they're doing it on his behalf.
Yeah, it's so obvious, and I just don't understand how people refuse to see that. I think it's a sickness, this Trump loyalty. I mean, both Gunnar and I voted for Trump. We had hope it was the better option, but now I kind of was tending to go the voluntarist route before that. I thought I'd vote just to make it too big to rig, but I don't know if we can fix this from, politically. And I don't think we can also go anarcho-capitalist. I don't know what the answer is. I think the answer is to shrink the size and scope of government to basically nothing, just defense, and communities kind of control their own politics.
I have a lot of faith in what's happening over the last 3 years. When I first outlined this, it's a book. I wanted to write a book about it. With the Truth Expedition, it allowed me to get this material out quickly in Substacks and through podcasts. We'd be able to talk about it. Never in this level of detail. I've been afraid to do it. But now people are starting to realize this. This is mainstream media now. Breaking Points, Tucker Carlson, many others are putting this all together. Thank God. And I do have hope in that. Joe Kent, Tucker sitting down with the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, forging relationships and honest discussions around how we want to see our system of governance unfold. When we look at all of the things that we have that separate us from the left, right, socialist, libertarian, there are some fundamental differences, of course, but so much would be alleviated if we got rid of the Federal Reserve, stopped forever wars, had a government that cared about its people. We don't have any of that. We have a government that purposefully propagandizes us into hating each other.
Yeah.
We should reject that, dude. That should be enough to make your hatred for whatever people that you have, or your prejudices or whatever. The fact that was installed by Hollywood, CIA, Mossad propaganda sickens me.
It sickens me that the mind control, how people, it's all team red, team blue. It's the very few people. We are a minority, big time. I'm thinking 10% or less kind of see the real problem here, and that needs to grow. I do have hope as well. I mean, I think there is kind of I wouldn't call it a great awakening, but there's an awakening going on, and I'm not talking about Q. I think there's a true awakening. I think people are really, and I think we're missing an opportunity here to bring, moderates together. And I'd like to do that. I think if you can display kind of a disgust in what Trump's doing, you then can get some moderate Democrats to be like, yeah, I'm disgusted too. But then you take it further, like, but hey, Biden was worse, just as bad. All these presidents are bad ever since Kennedy, really. Like, maybe we need to come together here and force our government to stop doing this.
Right. We don't need a revolution. We need a refresh and a revival of the citizens. We need to get organized and look at the common goals that we have in front of us. Nobody has to die. It doesn't have to be violent. It has to be orchestrated, organized, and organic. And when we are able to discuss these things freely and openly without the clamp down, the censorship, it allows us then to tamp down any violent rhetoric and have the Joe Kents, the Tucker Carlsons, the other folks around, the Thomas Masseys and the Ron Pauls, to have their voice be heard. And I think we're just learning from these folks, standing on the shoulders of giants and attempting to continue to carry that torch forward and actually enact tangible change. I think that the Constitution of the United States is a wonderful document. I think that we need to uphold it. I think we need to abide by it. I think we need to use it, because the founding fathers knew that we weren't always going to be able to keep this republic, that we're going to have to fight for it. We got lazy, very lazy. And it's time now for the people to realize good men are not in control, and that can change. We need to vote for good people, or at least continue to raise the awareness, grassroots movements. Be polite when you're discussing these things on Facebook and others. Insert beneficial, constructive information into the ether, into the universe. Don't get discouraged, because again, whatever awaits us after this, I think it's going to be glorious if we conduct ourselves reasonably and if we follow in God's good creation. I think that we can. I think we do have a route out of this.
Yeah.
I think that 98% of the people around the world are good. They just want to live their lives, raise their children, be good citizens of their state, their country. It's 2% of the people that are ruining this for all of us.
Well,
Again, it's not just one ethnic group. It's a great multitude. And we should identify those folks as we are. Bibi Netanyahu, Trump, Kushner have no business running the show. We need Ron Paul. We need the Jake Duesenbergs of the world to step up and to fix this. And we can do this together. I just hope that it's not too late. With what we're seeing in Iran right now, this could unfold rapidly. And we are in the fog of war right now. Anything could happen. But when it comes time to the draft, folks enlisting, voting, just revolt. Do not do this. Do not allow it to occur.
If we don't end up with nuclear war, some good could come from this,
Right.
Israel could be neutered. I don't want the end of Israel or anything like that, but the power, the strength of power that they have. I mean, we could end up, and if Trump continues down the path he's going, he's going to end up being a failure. Even the MAGA, I mean, right now, I think the MAGA folks that are still hanging on to that still hold out hope, but I think they're deluded if they think he's really, I mean, he did secure the border, but otherwise he's spending, he's warring, he's, advancing 6G, glyphosate liability, all this stuff. But I want to say one more thing here. If you don't think Jews or Zionists control the world, well, look at this. You've got around the White House, you've got Witkoff, Zionist. You've got Jared Kushner, big time Zionist. Ivanka Trump is a Jew. they're all surrounding Trump, not as well as Netanyahu. And then if you look at BlackRock, you talked about digitizing all the assets. Larry Fink is Jewish. And then you look at Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is a very powerful billionaire Zionist who owns CBS, Paramount. He owns MTV, Comedy Central, Nickelodeon,
TikTok.
Warner Brothers, CNN, HBO, Max. I mean, he owns all the media. He owns TikTok now.
Yep.
And then you've got
Censoring
Peter Thiel,
TikTok.
Zionist
Yep.
Jew, who some say is the Antichrist. He owns Palantir, who works with the Zionists, with Israel, to locate people to kill. You've got Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer, who's Jewish. You've got all the leadership from Moderna, who's Jewish. And the World Economic Forum is led by Jews. So I don't know. Who's controlling the world? You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, our good friend of the show, Derek Bros, put together a wonderful series called The Pyramid of Power, where he discusses all different hypotheticals and possibilities. But I contend that Third Temple politics drive virtually all geopolitical events, and that the fight for the Temple Mount is 2 millennia plus old, and we are in the thick of it right now. Like I said, they're on their goal line. They're about to score. They're going to drop the dome in Al-Aqsa, and then there will be a violent influx within the borders of Israel. I think that Muslims will be called from around the world to fight, and it's not going to be the 20 million Jews that are necessarily fighting them. It's going to be a Christian army. It's going to be robots. It's going to be drones following people and blowing up in their faces.
And your sons and daughters.
Nobody wants this.
No.
The only people who want this are insane. Right.
They're crazy. I
no
honestly
rational person wants this.
And that's where I think I don't understand it. The MAGA folks, that we were hand in hand all through COVID. Everyone was in, but this is just splintered the MAGA movement to a point where I can't even talk to some of these people. They call me a liberal, and I'm more conservative. That's all they have is you're just a liberal, TDS. Like, define liberal. I want small to no government. I want to end the Fed. I don't want wars. I want little to no regulation. I want the free market to work. I'm not a liberal. I have common sense, and I have love of all people, and I don't like war.
Trump campaigned on no forever wars. Then, just like 9/11, people bought into the lie. 40 beheaded babies, 30,000 or more Iranians dead, nuclear weapons in every corner of Iran. They just determined that Iran was not rebuilding their nuclear weapon sites. There's a religious fatwa against religious war. Nuking Israel to the Iranians would be the equivalent to nuking their holiest lands. They're not going to do that. They don't want to nuke Jerusalem. That's insane. Sure, they want to end the Zionist endeavor. They don't like political Zionism, but religious Zionism, the concept of Jews being welcomed back into the land, that's heartwarming. Great. I'd like to see that, perhaps, if the world is on board with it and agrees to it. But I prefer the Nataira Karta route, not the Chabad Lubavitch warfare at any cost route. No, thank you. Say no to it. Yep. Follow the Beatitudes, please, and conduct yourself peacefully. We're all going to be judged at some point. Look at, when you do pass, I hope that we can all look at the Creator in the face and say, I tried, I did the best that I could. That was a lot of fun down there, but it's a little messy. I hope it doesn't get too much messier. I think that this is all enough for us. 2/3 of the world destroyed by fire is worth fighting to prevent. And we have to do that because it could happen at any moment. Yeah. We're that close. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, the end is near. But people, come on, look at the rhetoric. Look at the people involved. Look at the Samson option. Look at the stakes. No thanks. Lunatics should not be driving the ship.
But they are. But yeah, we're going to fight back. And tomorrow, tune in tomorrow. This will be 3 days in a row. I think this is a record for us at the Truth Expedition. We're going to interview Jake Duesenberg, who has been in the trenches for a couple decades. He actually fought in Iraq. So he's got a perspective that neither Gunnar and I can have. He was the founder of the largest liberty organization. It's a state level liberty organization called Action for Liberty. He's the founder of that organization, and he actually advised me in my campaign for State House. He's the second most brilliant person in politics. I know Tony Lalonde, maybe just a little bit more. Sorry, Jake. But Jake is extremely smart when it comes to understanding politics and what's going on. He voted for Trump. He was MAGA. We'll find out tomorrow if he's for this war or not. And it's going to be a really good. Jake's very smart, good guy. It's going to be a great.
He's one of my favorite humans. So stay tuned for that one.
Tune in at 4:00 Central Time tomorrow, March 25th. I'll put a Substack out to remind folks. Anything else, Gunnar? I think we're good.
Look for those slides in the show notes and things. We'll post like a Google Docs thing so folks
share
can
this show.
Download it, share it, share the show. I don't care. Mark and I are not doing this for money. We got our day jobs, what have you. We're doing this for our kids, your kids, for humanity. It's worth fighting for.
Yeah, we have jobs.
The world was created. The world was created through quantifiable means. We have laws of physics, but it's also it's also a quality existence. Sunrises and sunsets, puppies, babies, curry.
I've been eating a lot of curry.
All this stuff is good. We should be appreciative of that and pass it along. Preserve this great creation for future generations. It's our duty.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, I think that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please do share it. I think this one was very important. I mean, there's a lot of information there. Super important. I don't think a lot of people, like my wife, a very strong Christian and reads the Bible, but didn't really know much about eschatology. I was kind of quizzing her, what's the diaspora, Magog, Samaria, all that stuff. So most people, I don't think, know about this stuff, and maybe that's good because then they're obviously not end times, they don't want this. My wife doesn't want this. She's not an evangelical, but yeah, please do share this. Tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't tread on us and don't shed on us. Have a good night, everybody.